Clemson's playoff hopes are already in jeopardy as Georgia Tech wins in upset fashion, covering that Clemson -2.5 line with a 24-21 win. I listened to some of Dabo Swinney's press clippings, some of his remarks in the post-game press conference, and he sounds frustrated, he sounds defeated, he sounds a little bit confused by his team's performance, but also disappointingly not surprised by their efforts and results on the field. So we picked Georgia Tech to win here. We were pretty confident about it, although as the game transpired, I'm not going to lie, I got a little bit nervous. And I got a little bit nervous because Clemson was actually able to run the football somewhat well. They were able to clearly use their athletic advantage to stay in the game. That one touchdown reception by Bryant Wesco in the second half where, before I resume, please like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bells, and comment your thoughts down below. I love your engagement. Don't just hit the notification bell for my main channel. Hit the bell for any team playlists attached to the video if interested. If your team is not there or you're not interested, please navigate to my home channel page. Check out the playlists tab. Your team will be there if it's a Power 4 team. And hit the notification bell so that you can get notified when I cover that specific team. If you want additional content, bonus content, sign up as a paid member of the channel with the appropriate tier. I also give priority reply to members. And check out our Discord server. It's free. You get to interact with me. I get to pop in there, and the Discord server will notify you when we go live or when I upload videos. Cade Klubnik throws it to him. It's a really short route just underneath the Georgia Tech defense, I believe, and he takes it all the way to the house with just electric, 5-star. You could tell he was a 5-star solely based on that speed. It was crazy, to say the least. It was a really good play. But it wasn't enough. And it wasn't enough because Clemson had 2 turnovers, because Clemson missed a field goal, and because I think Georgia Tech outcoached them. I mean, Georgia Tech won 24-21 in large part because they got a goal line stop with an interception. They were disciplined. That's why they were able to fire drill the field goal unit out there after the quarterback run to make it 4th and short and give Aidan Birr a little bit more yardage to work with. That was a very clutch 55-yard field goal, by the way. That was awesome. It filled me with a lot of emotion watching that get executed just because of how intense it was. And then seeing, final 24-21, watching Dabo Swinney walk to the middle of the field and Georgia Tech really storm the field. They stormed it, and as they should. You know that Brent Key is 7-8 against AP top 25 ranked opponents at Georgia Tech with the limited amount of resources that he has. That's crazy. That is phenomenal. He is one of my favorite coaches, and the fact that he is a Georgia Tech alumnus, the fact that he, by previous athletic director Jay Batt, who's now at Michigan State, got massive financial support at Georgia Tech, and the fact that they've been able to recruit well and develop even better, and that Buster Faulkner and David Gideon, I think, are 2 high-caliber coordinators. Gideon, new-time DC, first year at Georgia Tech. Faulkner's been there for, I think, 23, 24, 3 years now. He called a phenomenal game. It was clear to me in this game, absolutely clear, that Clemson had the superior, in terms of talent, team. They were faster. Now, I think Georgia Tech matched them in physicality. I think Georgia Tech outcoached them. I actually think that Georgia Tech has, to this point in the year, an equivalent team and a team that you'd probably rather take over Clemson's in a big game. If you just want to ensure that you can beat the small teams, you take Clemson because of their talent advantage. But the coaching job that Brent Key and his staff has done, it's in strong juxtaposition to the coaching job that Dabo Swinney has done at Clemson really ever since Trevor Lawrence left, and I think it's become more painfully obvious ever since Brent Venables left. You could have chalked up 2021 somewhat to bad evaluations at quarterback. I mean, Clemson had that before, I think, with Kelly Bryant in 2017. Just happened to play Georgia instead of a inferior non-conference opponent in 21, for example, where in 2017 they didn't have to play at Georgia. Therefore, you don't get the second loss that knocks you out of the 14 playoff. But then Venables leaves, the defense and the standard of Clemson for defense kind of takes a little bit of a nosedive. I think Allen, in large part, has done a good job at fixing that. But for whatever reason, that offense with Garrett Riley just hasn't come together. We know Clemson is this team that loves to run a bunch of plays. Well, Georgia Tech had 9 more plays than them, 70-61. Georgia Tech had nearly a 5-minute, really realistically 4-minute, 10-second possession advantage here. Georgia Tech matched them in passing, came close in rushing, though if you adjust for sacks, Clemson averaged 1.3 additional yards per carry. Tech was 0 of 2 on fourth down, and that surprised me throughout the game. You know, that cool QB sneak trick play that I saw for the first time against USC from Penn State and Andy Krolnicki's offense didn't work for Tech. They had another fourth down that was busted. And yet, despite those really, I think, made up for Clemson's really 2 turnovers that they had. You know, I think it was the interception and then a fumble that Clemson had. Tech turned it over twice on downs. That really evened it out. And that's how you get to 24-21, along with Tech really knowing what they wanted and being prepared for all things. And Clemson, I just think once again, there's something really not clicking there. And I don't quite know what's not clicking there, but something is off. Klubnik, I think, had his best game of the year. The rushing offense certainly had its best game of the year, but it's not good enough. And now Georgia Tech and Miami are favored over Clemson to win the ACC. Miami, a massive favorite over Clemson, and Tech a slight favorite in terms of odds, at least per FanDuel Sportsbook, but I think several other sportsbooks do have Miami and Georgia Tech favored over Clemson, as they should. Clemson, in their first ACC game, incurred a loss here. And while Clemson's defense did hold Georgia Tech to a respectable 24 points, Tech was around the average college football team in terms of expected points added per play, adding literally 1/20th of a point per play above what is expected. So they basically had an average performance in terms of, moving the ball, in terms of yards and points gained, in terms of field position. Clemson's was just a 0.08 EPA per play, which is in the 60th percentile, with at least what I thought, but many others in the business that are respected and way more respected than me for now. Hopefully we can get to the point of peak respect and several hundreds of thousands of subscribers. I'm confident one day we'll do that. For what Clemson returned on offense and what I and others above me thought they had on offense, this is very disappointing because Georgia Tech's defense, I think, is a good unit, but is it great? I don't think so. I don't think it's a great unit. Really. It doesn't have the talent required, and they have a new defensive coordinator to where if you're Clemson, you should win these games. You should. Even though I think Tech's a good team, they're a good program, and we'll continue to talk about them in this segment. If you're Clemson, you got to expect to win this. So can you clean up the mess? Because Duke, SMU, Louisville, South Carolina, I mean, they have their issues, but so do you. I mean, Troy played you within 2 touchdowns. LSU kicked your you-know-what in your own house. You lost to a Georgia Tech team that has a quarterback who can't stay consistently healthy and is probably not all that much better than last year in terms of power ratings. I think they're better for sure, but all that much better, I don't quite know. And look, in your past 2 seasons, this one and 2024, you as Clemson are, this is a stat from the Cover 3 podcast, shout out Tom Fornelli, 8-6 8-6 versus Power 4 teams. I mean, what are we doing? It's Clemson. This team was a dynasty in the 2010s that was above Ohio State and above Georgia always, and only behind Alabama. And really, they were trading punches with Alabama. In the late 2010s, if you don't recall, there were many analysts saying that Clemson overtook Alabama as the #1 program. Some, I think, even dared to say that Dabo Swinney was the best head coach in football and better than Saban at that point. Like after that 2018 game where Venables and Swinney just totally annihilated Nick Saban and what many thought at the time would be one of the better teams in the history of the sport. In 2018 Alabama, when they were 14-0 and 7.5-point favorites in that national championship game. Look how far they've fallen. And as for Georgia Tech, I think the main question is, can they win out here? We already talked about how Key is 7-8 versus top 25 teams at Tech. This is dating back to his interim coaching period in 2022. Contrast that to Clemson's record against the Power 4 teams since 2024. And remember that against Power 4 competition in 2023, Garrett Riley's first year as offensive coordinator, remember that against Power 4 competition, I think they went 6-4 or 7-4 against Power 4 teams that year. So Clemson's just barely treading above like 500, 600 against Power 4 teams, and Key's treading just below 500 against the top 25, or at least who was top 25 at the time that he played him, despite Key having far inferior talent. I ultimately think that quarterback is the difference, not just in this game, but for these teams. King led Georgia Tech in rushing, and he made a lot of good throws, and he took several big hits, too. He's tough, he's gritty, his team plays hard for him. I don't think Cade Klubnik is quite the same gritty player that Haynes King is. I think King right now is the better quarterback even than Cade Klubnik. I think both defenses are good, but I think the last thing that we have to talk about here is Clemson's offense. I don't know what's going on there, but it's really not good. 10 points against LSU, 21 against Georgia Tech, and then 27 against Troy. You've only scored 58 points through 3 games. You know what that means, right? You were averaging less than 20 points per game through 3 games with an offense that I and many others thought would be a top 5 unit, and that especially with the schedule provided to you could be #1 in multiple statistical categories. So as it relates to Clemson, I don't know where they go from here, but I'm very scared that Dabo Swinney is entering, or has already entered, the Mark D'Antonio, Bobby Bowden phase of you're just not the same coach that you were, 10 years before today, or 5 years before today. You're different, and you do not have the same capabilities that you used to. You are no longer one of the elite coaches of the sport. Right now, Dabo Swinney is not a top 10 head coach. He's certainly not top 5. He's not top 10. He's not top 15. I don't even think he's top 20. With the talent you have and how you recruit, if you are a top 20 head coach in the here and now, you are either 3-0 or 2-1 with these opening 3 games. And with everyone you brought back, if you're a top 5 head coach, you blow LSU out. Troy, you have your third stringers playing in the 3rd and 4th quarter. Georgia Tech is nothing to you. So, as for Dabo Swinney and Clemson, they have a lot of soul searching to do. Thank you so much for watching College Football with Sam. Remember to like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bells, and comment your thoughts down below. Again, for the notification bells, don't just hit the bell for my main channel, hit it for any team playlists attached, or if you're not interested in those teams, navigate to my channel homepage, to the playlists tab. There will be a playlist for your favorite team if it's a Power 4 team. Hit the notification bell for that playlist so you can get notified when I mention them or talk about the conference broadly that they reside in. If you want bonus content, sign up as a paid member. And our Discord server is totally free. You get to interact with me and several other diehard football fans in there. So do those things. Most of them are free. And if you want to go the extra mile, there's always the Patreon page and YouTube memberships.